Everybody knows VIZOR with a Z and Jeff with a J. What is VIZOR and why should K-12 techs use it?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, step back. So as you mentioned, lots of folks will be familiar with VIZOR already, but for those that aren't, and just a refresher for those that have heard the name, so a digital platform focusing on managing primarily student devices. So managing, and most of the student devices with the districts that we work with are Chromebooks. So a focus on managing Chromebooks, but other student devices as well. And so asset management and a help desk. So ultimately, we provide a significant level of automation, trying to remove as many manual steps as possible from the management process for student devices and other IT assets through automation. So things like automatically moving devices from one OU to another on checkout, automatically creating repair tickets for devices that are brought back in, automatically assigning those repair tickets, automating communication between stakeholders, so students and parents of students, as well as the technical team. So all sorts of automation, and then applying processes that are specific to the K-12 space into those into the management of the devices, adding the help desk, adding the help desk module, which we did last year, and then providing that centralized repository of all of that different information. So having that one single, I hate to say it in front of you, Chris, but that single pane of glass. But having that single repository through which you can see all of that information, bringing it together in one place, compiling it for you, and then presenting it back to you in whatever scope and format you need to see it, depending on your needs at that point in time.
Yeah, awesome.
Yep.
And we like the single pane of glass. We do.
I heard it coming, and I thought, Chris is going to notice this.
You can't walk away from it.
No.
So there's some new stuff that came up with VIZOR. So I guess, would you unpack that with us?
Yeah. So one of the reasons that we're here kind of now is the new version. So this is a pretty big release. It's called Drummond. It's named after a street in Montreal, which is how we name all of our releases. So this one is Drummond. It is a pretty big release. So what we've done here, there's over 70 new features inside of the release. I won't go into all of those. That's something that, folks can come and talk to us about in a demo. But really what we're trying to do here with this release is a little bit, instead of, we're trying to focus. The theme of this release is keeping focus. That's the idea here, is allowing technical team members and non-technical team stakeholders to remain focused within the workflow that they're used to and the work that they're doing without leaving that. So trying to simplify as much as we can through this release. So there's some really big components to the release. Like I said, over 70 new features, but primarily based on customer feedback. So this is something that we've got a lot of over the last few years, of course. And so we really wanted to focus this particular release on how do we improve what it is that we're doing based on the feedback that we're getting from the clients that have been using VIZOR over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. And I think one of those is with check in, check out. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's always my favorite area within the VIZOR platform. So this is what's closest to my heart. The reason for that is that it's the interface through which most stakeholders interact with VIZOR. So non-technical staff members, technical staff members as well. And then something that you and I have chatted lots about before are student volunteers. So having those sort of stakeholders interact with VIZOR through the check-in, check-out is why it's kind of my favorite spot. And this particular release has done a ton with that specific area. So we've really sped up the process. We've reduced clicks. So it used to be scan a device, click OK, click confirm, scan the student's ID or type in their name, click OK again. So you're going through multiple clicks. Now we've sped up that process to the point of just scan the asset, scan the student, it's checked out, move on. Then you can do this. So on, a Monday morning when you've got 30 kids standing in front of you because of all the things that went on over the weekend with damaged devices or forgotten devices, you can get through this process super, super fast. So it's really, really reduced the number of clicks. This actually came feedback from one of our largest districts that we were working with, over 100,000 students. And for them, obviously, the speed is absolutely critical. And so a couple of seconds or, 10, 15, 20 seconds per device adds up really, really fast when you're talking about numbers that big. So we really focused on that one a lot. So it's a lot of fun. It's kind of it was always my favorite area, and it's become even more fun to show and demonstrate to people.
Yeah. And I know when I've witnessed it, you can customize that for whatever school, like whatever your process procedure is. there's different customization options that are going to fit and work well.
Yeah. One of the cool things too with the check and checkout now is with we have an activity log, which is pretty neat. So I know that speed comes with it, kind of an inherent risk. And that's like you get into a bit of an autopilot mode, like and just going through, and these kids are coming and going, coming and going. But with the activity log, you get to watch what you're doing and see what you're doing. So the moment you try and check out, for example, a device that was reported lost or a device that's in repair, VIZOR is going to stop you. Hang on a sec. Are you sure you want to do this? So at that point, we've got those built-in safeguards so that you're not sort of on that autopilot situation and moving away from things that you shouldn't be moving away, or overlooking things that you shouldn't be overlooking. Another cool one there is the user card, the student card. So in the checkout, I get a little excited when I talk about stuff like this, but the check-in, checkout, that card for users, you're going to see all kinds of information. So getting to that customization that you were talking about, if it's important for you to see the insurance status of that particular user or that student, or maybe whether you've got kind of hoarder students, so when, students that got 3 or 4 devices, VIZOR is going to alarm you and notify you of that immediately on checkout. So you'll see that information. That student card carries throughout the product as well. So it's really, really cool to be able to quickly and easily see the repair history for that student, how many devices they have checked out to them, any fees that they have outstanding, if they have insurance, whether or not they've signed an acceptable user policy or acceptable use policy that you have. It's just, I love that part, that quick visibility, again, allowing techs and stakeholders to stay in the workflow, that they don't have to go to separate places to now find out, does the student already have a device checked out? Do they have insurance? Have they signed anything? Do they have any outstanding fees or fines that I need to be aware of? It's all right there in front of you now.
And then there's something about, and I don't know much about this, so tell me about this, like a global search that you can do with the Chrome extension, maybe too, or something like that?
So 2 really cool features. The Chrome extension is new for us, so being able to bring up VIZOR right from through the Chrome extension, which is cool. That one's kind of a fun one to have. And then the global search, so this is everywhere. So if for use case here would be if you're a secretary or a teacher, media specialist, librarian, or even a tech rep, you can just quickly, let's say a student comes to you and says, I lost my device, and they don't want to use the student portal or the self-service portal or whatever the case is. You can just type in that student's name right into that global quick search, and you'll see all the information you need to about that student. Same thing for a device. If a device comes to you, again, teachers, you don't want them going into the Google admin console trying to figure out who's got what, or even the student information system to sort of see information or details related and then having to go to another system. It's all right there. And so if, for example, a Chromebook hits your desk, Chris, and you don't know anything about it, they all look pretty much the same. You can simply scan that into the global search, and it'll bring up that exact record of that device without having to leave the interface that you're in, and it'll just tell you everything you need to know about it. This is a checked out device. It's assigned to this student at this school, and there it is. You'll be able to get it back to them.
Yeah, I always love that VIZOR. I mean, so at our school, we have our libraries that are pretty involved with the check and checkout process. And I say pretty involved, they're the ones doing it. I would say tech department, we're secondary to that. So there's always that great debate on, man, I would like for those people to have a view into Google Admin Console. I can't give them Google Admin Console access, so VIZOR fixes that part of that problem for us.
Yeah. Bringing non-tech staff members into the kind of workflow and the management process without them having to know that they're doing that. You certainly, as you mentioned, are not going to give them the keys to the kingdom, as it were, with the Google Admin Console. So this is a really safe way to be able to kind of facilitate their participation with at a very, very minimal cost in terms of learning curve and access to different things that they shouldn't be having access to.
Yep, cool. Okay, something about a reboot feature as well. Would you touch on that?
Yeah, well, actually, so that's a great example of what we were just talking about. So having the ability to, say, for example, a teacher wants to troubleshoot something. So don't send the student down the hallway to the technical representative office and hope that they're there and they've got some time for you. The teacher can just execute a reboot right there. So essentially, this is an example of access to the Google Admin Console, or a feature that you would not normally associate with a non-technical staff member that they now have access to. So they can reboot remotely from the from VIZOR. Simply just scan that device again in the global search, bring it up the device, and just reboot right from there. This extends the kind of already existing integrations with the Google Admin Console for things like OU movement that we talked about before, power washing, remote disabling devices. That's another great one. So in terms of managing the loaner process, if a student doesn't bring their device back on time, VIZOR can be set to automatically and remotely disable the device, to brick it so that it's useless until the student brings it back. So we've extended all of that sort of integration to the reboot, which I think is I know it sounds like an obvious one, but it's one that we're introducing in this release. So I'm really glad to say that that's there.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to what you just said. So a lot of times, like at our high school, we have that student-led program. So a lot of times kids are going all the way to the library, making that trip, leaving the classroom, just for our student technician to reboot the thing, and it gets better. Or sometimes that gets missed.
Yeah.
And then that thing makes its way to the tech department, and then all we really did was reboot it.
Yeah.
So again, if we can help that workflow to be better, and let other people do that stuff that the kid's not going to remember to do.
Right.
That makes tons of sense.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Like I said, the theme there, keeping focus, right? So the student gets to keep focus on being a student. The teacher in this case can keep focus on being a teacher. So I really like that component. You and I have talked about this before, but just the idea of being able to facilitate technologists being able to focus on delivering technology and not worrying about, like, rebooting a device is really not something that anybody should need to be worrying about, right? And so if we can automate those things, or at least make it as easy as possible for people to do it very quickly, then we're accomplishing the goal. Teachers get to teach, students get to learn, technologists get to deliver technology. So that's what we're all about. That's the mandate here. So that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Going back to the clicks with check and checkout, I've read those stats before about, what's the average that a human sleeps over the course of their life or whatever. If you're into technology, I would love to see the time that we spend on just clicking.
That's fun.
So if VIZOR is making steps towards saving us time on how much we click, I'm for it.
I love
it. And the bigger picture, if VIZOR can help a student stay in the classroom and learn, and that disruption is less, we don't think about stuff like that when we just quick talk about, inventory.
Yeah.
But that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to help the classroom. We're trying to help the teacher teach. We're trying to help the student learn.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything else we're missing here, Jeff, with these new features?
There's a couple of really cool integrations that we've got. So some new ones to go along with all of the integrations that we had up till now. So the kind of the Google Admin Console ones, the student information system integrations, but financial integrations. But OneRoster and My Schoolbooks are kind of the two new ones for this release. I feel like those are really interesting ones. We also have, I'm sure, Chris, you guys have talked about this before, the trend towards kind of back away from one-to-one at home. So a lot more districts kind of moving back into classrooms. So we've got, and using carts again, a little bit more. That's kind of a bit of a trend that we're seeing. So we've got some cart management workflows that we got going on there. There's another new one. I don't know how big this one or if it resonates, but I'd be interested actually in your thoughts on it. So we have now a location assignment. So if you, for example, if a device is logged into in the, let's say, the library IP range, then VIZOR can change the status of that device, the location of that device to the library. So that kind of thing. So if these are devices that you're tracking by location because they're not going home with students, for example, then when it's logged into it in a different IP range, VIZOR can update the location of that device based on that IP range. So that's a pretty cool one. I think. I just don't know. Like, that one's been tested, and that was sort of feedback from specific clients. But I honestly am interested in on kind of field testing that one and finding out people's sort of resonance there.
Yeah, we use Aruba access points. So they've had a product called Airwave that will let us try to track a Chromebook down, where you're like, that Chromebook was last seen at or near room 202, which is a similar vibe to what you're doing. And even, so Lightspeed Content Filter, they have a Signal product that does some similar tracking. So again, this bigger picture than we're talking about, well, your single pane of glass. If I can stick in VIZOR that can help me do those troubleshooting steps, or if I can give those two things I just mentioned, those are tech tools that gets filtered all the way up to us, that the tech department is involved with that. So if I can give that power to the librarian, that's going to save some steps and save some time again.
I love that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I know that listeners can reach out to VIZOR at vizor.cloud/K12 Tech Talk. They can request a demo. I think if they do a demo, they get some free swag, some K-12 Tech Talk swag. So, yeah, if you're listening to this, Jeff's the real deal. VIZOR's a great product. Check out visor.cloud/K12 Tech Talk. Jeff, always nice to talk to you and catch up every once in a while.
Yeah, you as well, Chris. And I'll just mention as well, on top of the swag, which is awesome, those hoodies are really, really cool. I do like those a lot. But on top of that, we've got some discounts available for your listeners. So this isn't something that you should pass on. It's something that we've actually pulled the trigger on lots through K-12 Tech Talk. So lots of different folks have been able to benefit from the discounts that we have associated with K-12 Tech Talk. So please reach out, let us know.
Awesome.
VIZOR.cloud/K12 Tech Talk. And we'll talk about implementation timeframes. Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to tell everybody about what's new in Drummond, what exists already in VIZOR, but also timelines in terms of implementation. We were talking off the top there about where we are in the school year. And so this is a really good time for us to be kind of getting out ahead of, that rush that's coming in the spring and summer.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff.
My pleasure. Thank you, Chris.